Welcome to the REI Foundation Podcast, where we cover all the steps and strategies to make your real estate dreams a reality. Now your hosts, Jason and Peely.
Hi, this is Jason here with another episode of the REI Foundation, and today is Multifamily Monday, and I am back in the helm by myself as Peely is still traveling around the world and will be back with us on Wednesday, hopefully. So today we're going to talk about the advantage of buying multifamily properties. And one of the major advantages of buying multifamily properties is the ability to have control over the value of the property, generally in the terms of forced appreciation. Unlike a single family home where the home is going to be based on really just the value of surrounding properties and the comps in the area, and also you're going to be really held down towards the buyer's we'll say take on the property, whether or not they like the cabinets, whether or not it's on a quiet street, how they feel about where the property is delegated towards the town or with the schools around. A multifamily property, 100 units, 50 units, 20 units, is going to be based on what you can do to increase the income of the property or consequently decrease the expenses of the property, ultimately looking to increase the bottom line, the net operating income of the property. And that net operating income is what is going to basically be the value driver of your property, because you'll take the net operating income and you'll use the cap rate for the area, and that will basically take and make the value of your property. So if you can go in there and increase rents or find ways to add pet fees or do other things like add in for laundry hookups into the apartments, or find water savings to cut down on expenses, or find out that maybe you can cut down on maintenance or repairs or other outstanding expenses that are just being blown out of the water just basically through poor management. And you can increase that bottom line, that net operating income. You've now have a much more valuable property. Past that is cash flow. With multifamily properties, you have the ability to produce a gigantic amount of cash flow by basically having more units, more tenants, and more ability to bring in more income across the board. And that ultimately is a huge advantage of multifamily properties. Along with that comes scalability. With multifamily properties, if you have 50 units, 100 units, 200 units, and you have, let's say 100 units, and you have one vacancy, you're still 99% occupied. However, if you have a single family home and you have one vacancy, you are vacant. Huge difference here with multifamily properties versus now single family homes, two family homes, three family homes, is your ability to take the property and have more ability to have that economies of scale. You're able to have one maintenance guy for maybe 50 or 100 units, and for a single family home, you need to have one maintenance guy. You could have a property management company that can handle a 100 unit property, or you can have a management company that's going to handle a single family home. For that, you're actually going to pay more based on if you had 100 units, because you're going to pay more percentage of your rental income for that single family home. Conversely, you may have one roof for 50 units where you have one roof for a single family home. So your upkeep is generally the same. As crazy as that sounds, your ability to have economies of scale grows tremendously by the more units you have. Along with that, you can take into account depreciation, tax advantages, naming and cost segregation. You can find ways to push forward your depreciation from, I think it's 27, your depreciation down into categories of 5, 7, and 15 year. I think it's 15 years, where you can push off, basically increase your cash flow and push off your taxes for years to come, just as long as you don't sell the property. Huge way here that you can buffer your bottom line. Another thing there you'll get with all real estate investment is the ability to pay down your debt. How great is it that you can have a single family home, a two family home, a 5 unit, a 10 unit, or a 100 unit that you don't live in, and ultimately you're having other people pay down your debt every month and every year without you putting money out of your pocket if you buy it right, where the fact that the rental income and income overall is now covering your PITI, your vacancy, your management, and your other miscellaneous costs, including your deferred maintenance and any other money you want to put down for capital reserves. Just a huge advantage of multifamily property is the ability for other people to pay down your debt, and basically with that comes the next part of having more to your bottom line when you go to sell the property in the future. With that is the ability to leverage a property. If you go out and buy Apple stock today and you buy $100,000 of Apple stock, you are now just getting $100,000 of Apple stock. But if you have $100,000 to put down on a property, a multifamily property, you may have the ability to buy a property that's $500,000 where you're just 20% basically for a down payment and the other 80% is leverage, or even you might even be able to buy a property worth $1 million and just put 10% down and leverage the rest. Just that goes with that is that the more units you have, over 4 units, your ability to get easier and better financing opportunities grows dramatically, because now they're looking, once you get past 5 units, they are looking at the property because the property on its own needs to perform. If it's on 1 to 4 units, the scrutiny is still on you. Now, that's not to say you can be go to look to buy 5 to 100 units, 200 and 300 units and have handled your finances and your credit history horribly. Well, that's not going to help. But it is going to be more particular to the property once you get up there, and you're actually going to find it will be easier for you to buy a 50 unit than it would be to buy a 2 unit or a 3 unit. Trust me, it's true. And one of the last things that we don't depend on, but is always a nice thing, is appreciation. As time goes on, generally that we will gain some appreciation just over time, that our property will ultimately just become, will be worth more. Those are just a bunch of different items that you can take into account when buying multifamily properties, and we hope that you like this episode of Multifamily Mondays here with Jason on the REI Foundation podcast, and we will see you on Wednesday. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the REI Foundation podcast. Check back next time for more awesome tips and strategies to launch your new you in real estate.